Hey, what's up guys? Garden here, coming to you guys with a deck profile today, going over a new deck for the channel. This one was actually recommended by one of my commenters on my Helmville video. So I mentioned that I quite liked looking into underlooked Vanguards quite a bit. And he recommended that I look into Spinomarquis, which is the Dino Dragon themed ride line. Or should I say just grade 3, because as you can see, we're playing just a generic ride line in this deck. But yeah, basically with this deck, it's like a Dino Dragon theme. So you want to play a bunch of dinosaurs and just beat face essentially. So yeah. So without further ado, thank you very much to the commenter. Since once I looked into the Vanguard, I loved them instantly, and I thought, all right, I'm sold. Let's try put this together. So yeah. So thank you to you. All right. So for the ride line here, we have pretty much a generic ride line. We're playing the Virgula line here because we can Soul Blast 1 for the grade 1 to get a free ride, and then the grade 2 allows us to add any grade 2 from the top 7 when we ride on top of him. One thing to note with the grade 1 though is that he gets an extra 2k power for each of your rear guards, which is insane with Shenri. So yeah, spoiler alert, I am playing Shenri in this deck, but don't worry too much. I do have a budget version of the deck in the description, where I take the Shenris out and I basically just put more dinos in, basically. You got some very budget options, trust me. There's some you'd be surprised of the Dino Dragon options that we have that I just was not aware of. And there's a pretty funny one as well that I completely forgot about. But yeah, you work with what you can. But yeah, the Virgil of R9 is still pretty good. It's pretty free and just gets you more card advantage, basically. And for the starter, you can pretty much run any starter, so I decided to go with Surprise Egg, because it's a dinosaur deck. Of course, I'm going to play an egg. Like, what are we talking about? So, yeah. Now, Spinomarquis, we will go into him, because, of course, we do have the Persona Rides in the deck as well, naturally. But in this deck, the Persona Ride is even more insane. So, for those that don't know what he does, basically when he's placed in the Vanguard circle, you look at top 7 to call 2 Dino Dragons. That's it. Like, it's free. It's just a free call to Dino Dragons. Thanks. So, and with this, because it's when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, it's every time you ride him. So it's from the ride deck, and then it's every time you Persona ride him as well. You just top 7 call 2. Okay, just fill the board up, why don't you? So yeah, it's really, really cool. But the second skill, his main skill, shall we say, the real skill, is when he attacks the Vanguard, you can Counter Blast 1 and retire a Dino Dragon rear, and then you get to draw a card, and then he gets another 10k. And then, at the end of the battle, you choose a Dino Dragon from your hand, call it to rear, and then you get to retire all of the rear guards in the opponent's column of the column that you call that unit to. Like, that's so much value. Like, you get to retire something, draw a card so you don't neg, he gets 10k, you call another card down, so you have multi-attack, so you at least do 4 in this deck. And then you get to kill the column on your opponent's field. Like, if they have 2 units in a column, bye-bye column, you know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, I say it's insane, but the deck's not, like, mental or anything. Like, it's not crazy, but when you read the card, you just think, that's a good card. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So we're playing 3 of him, of course, with the Persona Ride, but I decided instead of going for Gradale to put the Caliburn in, because I would much prefer Persona Riding with him rather than the Gradale. Because at least this way, I'm getting top 7 call too, you know? So the only circumstance where I could think Gradale would be better is if your board is still intact, the call 2 isn't really going to do much. So maybe Gradale could then be a bit better, but I like this more though still, because even if you're not doing it for like digging for the Persona Ride, still drawing 2 is good, right? Just filling your hand up and just making sure you got more resources available to utilize is just better. And then also in a very clutch situation, it's also a countercharger, which this deck doesn't have. And you need at least 1 CB for the Vanguard, but it's not too bad though, because guess what? The only thing in this deck that counterblasts is the Vanguard, so it's very easy to plan your damage and just be safe in this deck. You know, it's quite freeing in that sense. So yeah. So anyway, that's it for those. And then the final grade 3 that I'm playing in here, one of the MVP Dino Dragons of the old Overdress, shall we say. We have Tribash Dragon. Oh yeah, Tribash Dragon. This is going back a bit, isn't it? So yeah, Tribash. Basically, when your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rears, you can put them into the soul, choose one of your Vanguards, give it a crit. Yeah, this gives the Vanguard crit pressure now, especially with it getting huge, because you got to imagine Spinomarquis gets 10, makes it 23, Persona Ride turns 33, put a booster behind him, at minimum 43 or higher, you know? So if we're going to make the Vanguard that big, I want to make sure I've got some crit pressure behind him. So Tribash, he is back. So yeah, really, really cool. So we're playing those. Alright, so that's it for the grade 3s. Alright, so to start off with the grade 2s, we have 4 copies of the promo Dashing Dragon Yonoi Rush. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Dashing Dragon, shall we call it that? Yeah, so this guy, he's really good. He was actually utilized in Vaga for a bit at the beginning of DivineZ. Basically because when he's retired by your card's ability, you get to Energy Blast 3 and draw a card. So you can instantly see why he's good in this deck. Hello. This guy eats him, and then you get to draw. Energy Blast draw. Like, hello. But he does have another effect which can also allow him to trigger himself. So if you have multiples of him, you can still use the effect. So the second effect is when he attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, you can Soul Blast 1, he gets 10, and at the end of the battle, you retire him. So obviously that allows you to then use his other skill to then Energy Blast, draw a card. So yeah, this card's really, really good. Best eating target for the Vanguard in this deck, just because you get the value of the draw there. But then also he's really good as like an other rear guard to just beat with, because he gets 10k power, and then you can retire him to get the draw again. So yeah, when it comes to this deck, we have a lot of things, surprisingly, that draws cards. So yeah, it's really, really good. Next, we have not necessarily a good card, but it's definitely useful, shall we say. 4 copies of the Spino Assaulter. So a very simple skill. Once per turn, if your opponent's rearguard was retired by the ability of your grade 0 or greater Vanguard, you get 10k till in the turn. Hello. I am a dinosaur. I retire stuff. He gets bigger. You know what I mean? Like, of course we play this. It gets bigger, and it synergizes with the Vanguard. So, there you go. Very simple skill, so we can move straight on over to the last grade 2 that I'm playing, which is 4 copies of Brachio. Yes, Brachio is back in the deck. We are going to really old school Overdress units here. We have Tribash Dragon, and now we have Brachio back. Yeah, so very simple skill. When he attacks and hits something, you can retire him to draw a card, and then choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. He's a +1 in himself if you are able to kill something. But it's even better when you like poke him into a rear guard, because you know if the rear guard dies, there's another rear guard that's going to die, and then you get a draw card. So yeah, the early game this guy can push is can be a little bit annoying at times. So yeah, we are playing Brachio. So 4 copies of those, and that is it for the grade 2s. Alright, so moving on over to the grade 1s, we're going to get the boring card out of the way. 4 copies of Shenri. We're playing this because of 2 reasons. 1, it's really good early game. 2, it draws us cards, which means we can actually dig for the Persona Ride more consistently. And 3, it provides Soul, which is actually useful for this deck, because we need the Soul for the next grade 1, which is going to be 3 copies of Euraptus, I think it's called. This is a really old, I think it came from, what set was it? Set 5? Jesus. Yeah, so when he attacks our boosts, you Soul Blast 1, and he gets 5k for each of your other grade 1 rear guards. So, yeah, the more grade 1 rear guards you got, he becomes bigger. So he's a 13k, 18k booster or attacker. Pretty good. So he's a nice backup alternative. Because obviously with your grade 2s, especially the Dashing Dragon, he will like, he doesn't return basically. So you need like alternative attacking options, and he's pretty good for that. So, yeah. So with that, and also with the Dashing Dragon, he is also a Soul Blast for the 10k power buff, so that's where the Shenri also comes in handy. But Honestly, when it comes to Soul, it's pretty flexible. Like you do use it, but you don't use it like so much to where it's like a concern, right? You are pretty free to use it when you need it. So yeah, but yeah, 3 copies of this, and then we're playing 3 copies of Geyser Fort. So this grade 1. Oh god, that glare's pretty bad, isn't it? Let me move him up there so you can see him. Yeah, so this guy, once per turn, when your opponent's rearguard is retired during your turn, you get to stand him and he gets 2k power. So, something to take note with this is that he's a good Vanguard booster, because you can boost the Vanguard, right? And then if you kill something, he restands and gets 2k. Now, do note, just because it restands, it's still boosting the Vanguard technically, but it's also getting the 2k power, and when a unit is boosting another unit, the power it's pushing over is a continuous effect, which means that 2k carries on over to the Vanguard, making this a 10k booster, basically, for the Vanguard swing. But he's also good in Rearguard, because if you eat the Rearguard from the Vanguard skill that he boosted, you're going to call something to that column, and then he's going to restand. So you then get to boost them again. And then even if you call something like the Tribash Dragon, because he gets the 2k, he's now a 10k booster, so then that 13k will make a 23k column, or 33 in a persona right turn, so you're still making good magic numbers, so that's really cool. So I think a 3 and 3 split of these is good, but like I said, with a budget alternative for this deck, with the Shenris, you could just take these out and just put more of these in, and then instead of the 2 Shenri left, you put in the grade 1 from Overdress Set 1 that was a 10k booster. You might remember him, he was like just a regular plain Dino Dragon that just said when he boosts, he gets 2. That's it. It doesn't read great, but it's still another option that's a Dino Dragon, and it has a benefit of being a 10k booster for the Vanguard and also your Tribash, so that is relevant. So, like I said, I will have the budget alternative in the description in case you don't have the Shenris. So, that is it for those, and then, of course, finally for grade 1s, we have our 3 PG and our 1 Elementaria as well. Like I said, if you don't have Elementaria, swap it out for another PG. That's another route you can go down as well. So that's it for the grade 1s. Alright. Finally, we have the triggers. It's very simple. Dragon and Pyro T, because the Vanguard's not once per turn. So we're going to restand him, attack with him again, eat, call, draw, get another twin drive. Yeah, of course we're playing this. And yeah, we're playing 8 crits, so we have 4 skill crit and 4 vanilla crit. Like I said, the Vanguard gets big, we want to put crits in the deck. Skill crit can sometimes be relevant for some of your Soul Blast skills, maybe the grade 1, but like I said, it doesn't come often enough to where I even care, so you can probably put vanilla triggers in instead if you want to. So that's that. And then, of course, we have our 3 draw trigger, because I really want to see the Persona ride. Trust me. if you're not seeing the Persona ride, you're struggling. And also, I want more resources and more units to call down to replace the ones that, like, die, basically. So, I feel like draws are good. But you could play front triggers in this deck, since both your rear guards will be stood when your Vanguard's swinging. So, front triggers are also decent, especially for, like, the 20k shield as well. So, you could be flexible with this, play draws or fronts, it's up to you. And of course, we're not playing a dinosaur deck without the dinosaur heal trigger, are we not? So, yeah. Yeah, of course we're going to play that. But yeah, that's it for the deck. So, Spinomarquis, dinosaur deck. It's not super good. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This deck is kind of trash when you compare it to, like, the meta. But in terms of a fun casual deck that you play with your friends, it's great, and I love it. And like I said, the thing is with this deck, it's future-proof, because if they make any better Dino Dragons that can go in the deck, this deck just naturally scales higher and gets better over time. So it's really good. It's really, really cool. But yeah, of course we have to play Egg in here. We have to play an Egg starter for a dinosaur deck, don't we? But yeah, anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Kind of unexpected, I know, but like I said, it was suggested by a commenter, and as soon as I saw the Vanguard, I'm like, yeah, I'm sold. I'll make a dinosaur deck, sure. And it's quite budget-friendly, you know, nothing in this deck is, like, super expensive except the Shenris, but like I said, you can also make it a budget version if you want to do that as well. Anyway, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This is Guardian, signing out.